Good morning everyone, my name's Nigel Horner and I'm the Head of School of Health and Social Care and a member of the Social Work Teaching Team. And I'm delighted to have a talk this morning with Jasper Schatz, who is the Module Coordinator for the Service User and Carer Involvement module, which is going to be undertaken by full-time students early in 2015 and then by our part-time students. So, hello Jasper.
Morning, Nigel.
Hello. So, it'd be really helpful just to know a little bit about the module. We've always had something around service user and care involvement in our programme, but could you just tell us in a nutshell what the module is all about?
Sure. Well, students that have come here to start the programme will have been interviewed by service users as part of the recruitment process. So there'll already be that sense that service users have something to do with social work training. But the service user and care involvement module is really about giving us social work students an introduction to why it's important to involve service users, to allow them to have a voice and then to hear what they have to say.
Okay, so what is the word involvement? Is this involvement in our programme, or are we talking about involvement in services, or what does it mean?
It can mean different things, but I think for this module the most important thing is really social workers in training understanding how service users can be involved in decisions that affect them.
Right.
There might be decisions that affect them directly in terms of the services they're going to receive, the assessment that's going to be undertaken, decisions that are going to be made about their care. Or it might be involving service users in decisions which are going to affect groups of service users.
Okay. So as you say, yes, when people were interviewed for the programme, they met some of our service users. Who have we got involved in this, in representing which kind of clients or service user groups?
So we've got service users who represent people with disabilities, physical disabilities, learning disabilities, independent advocacy services, and services that work with children and young people as well.
Okay.
So just talking about those, there's different kinds of service user groups.
Okay.
And different ways we might need to think about how we include people and make sure that we overcome any barriers that might be involved.
So obviously part of the module is about modelling good practice.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll do that.
Yeah.
So if we're going to say this is the way to involve people, how are we involving those people in this module?
Well, we're going to, students doing the module will meet with service users through the module.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the new tasks I'm asking the students to do this year, which will be quite interesting, is to get them to go away and do their own research to think about how to involve young people with a learning disability.
Oh, right.
And then through the module, they've got an opportunity to meet some young people with learning disabilities who are actually going to give them a bit of feedback on how they present their views about that.
Right. So these are young people who are still in education?
There'll be young people who have left, who are working with an advocacy service now, so they'll be in their early 20s.
Oh, right. Okay.
But they'll be near to the service user group, young people with learning disabilities.
Okay.
So it will give them more real hands-on experience.
So students often, right from the very beginning, are interested in the end game. I mean, hopefully they enjoy the process, but how are they going to be assessed in the module?
So they're going to be assessed through an assignment, which is about handling a case study. But on the way to doing the assignment, there's going to be lots of formative tasks, lots of opportunities for group work, for discussion, for handling other case studies, and most importantly, for talking with service users and with one another, and thinking about how, in effect, as students are service users as well in terms of receiving education and training.
Yeah.
So it's thinking about those kind of principles. So what's really important is really the qualities for how we are with people. If we regard ourselves, whether we're staff or students or service users, as people, I suppose it's the qualities for that. And a lot of the research shows that it's the values that we have for relating to people, the social work relationship with the service user, which is really quite fundamental to good and meaningful participation.
And it's worth remembering for ourselves, but also for the students, is that only a few weeks ago our regulatory body, the HCPC, when they came to Lincoln University for 2 days, met with a number of our service users, didn't they? And were very complimentary about their engagement with the programme.
Yes, that's right. And they pointed out that the service users had said to them that they enjoy being involved in the programme and in this module amongst other modules that they're involved in, and looking forward to having further inputs. So I suppose it's important that we continue to adapt the module to take into account service user views, because of course the services are changing that we're providing through social work, so it's important to bear that in mind.
Yeah, and there are some groups, aren't there, that are much more difficult for us to engage with, particularly younger children, I think, and I think most programmes find that kind of difficult, but I'm sure you'll get students to think about that as well, as to how we would engage with younger children within families.
Yes, to a point. This is, I suppose, being the first year, level 1, the students are being introduced to different approaches, such as tools and methods for participating better with young people, and then they might go on and continue to study that further with other modules that they're going to do, and when they start placement as well, depending on which service user groups they're going to work with. Yeah.
So are there any other key messages you want to give students to, because they'll have to deal with the boredom of Christmas and then be ready for this module?
Yes, well, the idea of this micro lecture really was just to get students starting to think about it, and I suppose the key concept for students to think about is what is participation, and what makes it meaningful.
Okay.
Because you could say, especially when you mention children and young people, that more participation might be assumed as better, but it isn't necessarily, is it? It's really thinking about how we involve people in meaningful ways.
Yeah, what's appropriate.
That's appropriate to them.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, Jesper. Wonderful.
Thank you, Nigel.